One's ready. Go! So you guys are going into special warfare assessment selection. It is an attributes-based selection model. What does that mean?
Guys, are we running right now to get fitter? Or are we practicing running? Practicing.
I can't freaking...
So there's a holistic picture that we're looking for. The instructors are giving you input, and we're expecting an output. And everything is for a reason. If you guys haven't heard my spiel yet, everything that we do, every single exercise, has a connection to the job that you're trying to do. We don't want people at INDOC, Special Warfare Assessment Selection, whatever they're gonna call the new course when it inevitably changes somewhere down the road. I don't care what they call it. What I need is you to show me the raw materials for the things that I wanna build you into. Just like everything else, it's a crawl, walk, run.
I'm running keys just like this. All the way to ATC, you never quit. All the way to ATC, you never quit.
The one that I'm going to hit first is sort of a more, and it's a good question. Do you think the Air Force needs a culture shift? If so, how do we go about it? 1NTB. That is a great question. So I'm going to answer it directly because I like to do that. Yes, I think the Air Force needs a culture change. I think the military needs a culture change. I think the DoD needs a culture change. I think culture needs a culture change. I've been super clear about that. You can go follow me for all the spicy takes over on Aaron Loves America, over on X, wherever it is that you want to follow me on the War Room and hear my takes there. Like, that's for another platform and another time. But I think that we all need a rebaselining. We've got the generals that are coming in for this meeting that they don't know. There's a lot of funny jokes floating around. Like I said from the very beginning, like, I hope it's something super. I hope they're going in for like a no notice drug test, like something that just like takes your day up. And then I hope that they have to go through like sexual assault training, like the bare bones, like sexual assault safety briefing sort of training. And then I hope they have to go do weeds and seeds afterwards. Like, I hope they have to go out and do just like a landscaping project. Like, I'm hoping that's why Pete Hegseth has called every single general from all of the services to Quantico next week. I hope it's something just to waste their time. There's rumors that it's going to be a PT test because he's like, hey, like, from the top down, like, I want you guys into it. I hope that's true. That's funny. I've made the joke. This is probably not the most appropriate joke. And I want to say, I am not calling for violence. I'm not advocating violence in any way. Of course, I don't align with despotic dictators who slaughtered millions. Okay. But Saddam Hussein got everybody together in one of these meetings one time, and he did it because he had like audio of all these people speaking against him and his government. And then name by name, he read out like 68 people, and those people were escorted out. And then they were summarily killed outside. I laughed. I was like, maybe Pete Hegseth is going to be like, hey guys, notice a lot of stuff on social media. Just wanted to get everybody in a room. Everybody cool? Are we cool? Because it seems like we're not cool. I hope it's a come to Jesus talk. I don't know. I'm excited. But, you know, to the overall point, yeah, I think we need a culture change, man. I think that we need to, like, GWOT was what GWOT is. You know, I can look back at the time as a veteran, as a GWOT veteran. Ugh. Disgusting. But as a guy that went through it, man, like, I am totally willing to say the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent, the mundane, the tragic, the traumatic, all of it. I accept all of it for exactly what it is. I accept going into Iraq on a spurious claim of weapons of mass destruction, to why are we in Afghanistan, to what are we doing here? What's the end state? What's the plan? All the way through the retreat and the terrible stuff that happened at HKIA, all the way through it. Its entire body of work. That's what I got in to do, right? I got in September 13th of 2001. You know, I was in the recruiter's office. I shipped out. I was in basic training on January 2nd of 2002, right? And I got out in 24. So I got in to do GWOT, man. Like, I get it. But we can't look back at GWOT. We're really good at those things. There's a lot of good things to take from it, a lot of terrible things to take from it. And there's a whole other conversation. Should we be there? Is it ever valuable? Did we get the blood and treasure that we desired? Okay, that's a conversation for another point. What we got to do is we got to focus on where we're going from now. Okay, GWOT is not the last 20 years. We are in 5th generation warfare. as fifth generation warfare, go read the book, Stealth War, Charles Spalding, great book, talking about China and the fifth generation warfare that he thought that we were in back then. I mean, this book came out quite a while ago. So we are in fifth generation warfare with China, with Russia, with our adversaries that mean to do us harm, to include violent extremist organizations the world over that are just looking for us to get distracted with other stuff and be able to do that. So, you know, the things that we're trying to get after here are serious business, and we have to be serious people. And for a long time, and especially at the end of my career, and I'm going to keep politics and my personal feeling aside, the overwhelming thing that led to my feelings on it now are that we lost sight. Something happened in really 2015 onward where we started kind of getting distracted. We were bogged down in GWOT. We still had dudes that were sort of going to some of these other locations, and, you know, some other stuff would pop up and we get distracted by stuff. But it started almost being, you know, the end of GWOT was like the end of the deployment. You know, you go to a deployed location at first and it's tense and it's nobody knows, like, you don't have communications half the time. And then you show up to that place 2 years later and they've got a Starbucks and they've got a TGI Fridays. And you're like, what is happening? Like, where did you guys have a Pizza Hut in Kandahar? I ate at it. It was magnifique. A little taste of home, a little stuffed crust pizza. Fantastic. Great. Not mad at it. Get your Baskin Robbins. Down in Kandahar. Okay. Down in J-Bad. God forbid you don't have your green beans. Okay, I got it. But that's kind of how this whole thing went, was by the end of it, it had become something that it never was. And I think that it's okay for me to say that, you know, I look at people, and I've always been super clear about my career. Like, I was only really valuable in very narrow things. Like, at the tactical level, I had a very narrow skill set that I was good at, but it was very, like, I had to be pointed in that direction because all I got in was to do the GWOT thing. I didn't want to do the political part of I accepted the bureaucracy because they gave me the violence. That's what I got in for. I got in to go fight. I accepted the rules of your game and all the mundanity and the show up and wait. And we're closed for training every Thursday. Just, you only have 1 day off of training in this 14-day cycle. And it just so happens to be a random Thursday afternoon where you can go get your pay fixed. But I walk into that stupid section and they're closed for unit training. And what they're doing is they're out playing frisbee. I can see them. Like, I can see you from your office playing ultimate frisbee on Thursday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and you're closed for training, right? I accepted all that bullshit because I got to go down range. I accepted the rules of your game. We talk about, giving up parts of yourself for service. It's what you have to do. I'm going to be clear about this because there's a misconception out there. You never give up your rights, period, ever, for anything. They're big R, God-given rights, unless you sign a contract with your creator that you get to give up your rights. You can't give up the love of your parents. You can't be like, I give up my father's love. I give it up. I'm not doing it. You can't do that. It still exists. It's still a thing. Those rights are yours. You never give them up. But I was willing to adhere to the UCMJ and go, okay, cool. There are limits on what I have to do in order to be part of this organization, but it's because you gave me GWOT. That's all we wanted to do for a huge generation of people. That's all they wanted to do. And that was a good thing. And it's a bad thing too, right? There's tons of people that, GWOT is not the regular military. GWOT was a wacky 20-year period. And inside of that, there were wackier periods that happened, right? And, specifically like 2015 on. That was a super wacky period inside of a larger wacky period that was going on inside of a huge wacky period that's the world, right? So it's like Inception. It gets deeper as you peel the layers back. But there's a whole generation of folks that are trying to figure out, like, there's a whole generation of people like me that accepted all the nonsense because they got the GWOT. They accepted the rules of your game because the output was good enough. We need a culture change in the sense that I feel it's hard for me. Like, if I was going to make that pitch, right? Like, I just encapsulated, at least from my optic, what being a dude that did special operations in GWOT, what we did, right? Because everything was to that end state. and good, bad, or indifferent. Hindsight is 2020. We have more information now than we did back then. But just as a young dude that was waking up in Iraq or Afghanistan or Africa, for me, I looked to the left and I looked to my right, and I knew that I had a mission that we were going to do. And in the end, it was about those people that I was serving with and not the overall machinations of government or politics or culture or all these other things. It was that I knew that we had a mission that we were going to go do, and I had the best people in the world to the left and the right of me, and they wouldn't fail. My rigor wouldn't just half-ass my shoot and cause me to die on a simple training thing. Like, he is going to kill himself to make sure that shoot's packed right. And the radio guys are going to do the same thing. And the PJ's out on target. We're gonna take all of that input that you just gave us, and we are going to save somebody's life on their worst day. When they thought they were going to die and they called for help, we were there. Everybody that supported that mission was part of that culture. And I think we've lost that connection. I think in 2015, kind of to where we see it now over that 10-year period, which is wild to say, that's 10 years of this thing happening. I think we lost that connection. I think we need a culture shift, the Air Force, but really the military writ large. We need a culture shift back to lethality. What are we here to do? What are we here to do? How does this support doctrine? How does this support warfighting? How does this cement America as the number one superpower? We are the gorilla in the room. We are technologically more advanced than every single other peer country, if we want to call them that, than anybody. And you can talk to me about China and the threat of all these, whatever, I don't care. We need to focus on, just like the pipeline should have an overall end state, and you're constantly focused on, what do we get to this end state? How do we get to that operator? From you getting into the special operations community, it should be, how do I get through selection? How do I get through these pipeline schools? What's my overall end state? Am I constantly doing things that get us towards the end state? Train specifically, train efficiently, task organize yourself to get to your end state, and then bring your teammates along with you. That's how we succeed overall in any organization, right? We're giving you the building block. And then notice, like, I'm connecting it to where you are getting into special operations, because I want to let you know, like, the culture changes with you. The culture changes with each individual person that hears this and gets into the Air Force and decides that that's not the culture that they want to be involved in. They want to be involved in a professional culture, somebody that gets after these things, and it's better than we ever are. It comes in wide-eyed, plenty of motivation, you got your whole life in front of you, bringing in good ideas, bringing in more technology than we ever had. How do we get that population of people to care about it like my generation of GWOT did? Right? How do I get you guys to care about it? Because I need you to be able to do those same things. Again, September 10th of 2001, nobody knew that we were going to be on horseback in Afghanistan a day later. We had no clue. That Monday, September 10th, 2001, we had no clue what the next 20 years would hold for us. There was no way that the GWOT generation waking up on that day, guys like me that are old, that are retired, not me, Peaches, Trent, all of our friends that are, that you're either still in and they're the shot callers in the career fields, or they're out after serving 20 years, 2 decades of their life in far-flung places where people are trying to kill them. People are trying to kill you for being there. They hate you. They're trying to kill you, and you have to kill them for it first to come home to your family, because that's what the job is. I need you to care about that, even not knowing what comes up next. That's where the GWOT, this thing that we're calling GWOT veterans, people like Valhalla VFT and Jay and Jake and all these other people that are in the space that I think are doing it the right way, right? They're desperately trying to encapsulate the lessons learned so that you can feel in my head, why did I go to the recruiter in September of 2001 when I knew we were going to war? Why did I care? Was that something about me? Was it my upbringing? What made my generation of folks answer the call? Because I'm one of hundreds of thousands that did. And that includes first responders. That includes people that saw the firemen rush in to September 11th, rush into there to risk their lives to go save people. There's hundreds of thousands of people that decided they wanted to be a fireman that day, or be a police officer that day, or a paramedic, or a nurse, or serve in some way, right? There's hundreds of thousands of Americans. How do I communicate that to this generation of people to get them to care like that, so that when the call, because I don't know when the call is coming, but I know that it's coming. I didn't know my entire life growing up. I grew up in the sweetest time in America, bro. I was born in 1980. You're telling me I got to be a kid in the 80s. And then as I was like 10 through 20, I got to do the 90s. Do you guys know what happened then? Limp Bizkit happened then, guys. Are you kidding me? I got to live through Limp Bizkit. Okay, so I existed in a time that was before and after Limp Bizkit, which I think we can agree. Like, I know that BC is kind of like how we view time, but I think culturally in America, it's really like pre-Limp Bizkit and after Limp Bizkit. So PLB, ALB. I got to span that time, homie. Like, I mean, honestly, the best childhood that you could have, right? In America, middle America, Ohio, get out of here. I wasn't thinking about going to war with people that lived in a place that I couldn't pronounce. I couldn't point out on a map. No clue. But there was something in me, there was a story that I heard. There was something that I can't put my finger on, that when that call went up, I answered it. And that's not to aggrandize myself, because again, I'm one of hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people who answered that call that day. And again, we could talk about that day and whatever. But I need somebody that when that flag goes up, that they go, okay, yep, I'm in. Because this culture of the Air Force Special Operations, the military, DOD, America, I think we need a culture shift back towards who we are. And it's it weighs on me, the upcoming birth of our nation, the celebration of 250 years that we've been here. Empires aren't supposed to last that long, homie. 200 years is about it, right? For this American experiment that we've been doing. We're doing pretty good, considering we're the most benevolent force that's ever existed on the face of humanity for good, ever. We've brought the floor of the entire world. This country has raised the floor for civilization. That's not hyperbole. That's what we've done as Americans. That's who we are. That's not just what we do or where we live. That's who we are. We're Americans. We need to shift back towards those core principles. We need to shift back in the culture to doing what's important. What's important right now to get after these fights? How do I message to these young kids to get them to care like the GWOT veterans do? That's important. We got to do it right now. We got to do it right now. Get in front of them. Make them care. Set them up for a time where they care as much as we did. Give you the information. Let you be ready to make the choice when you're ready to make the choice. We can't tell you when that is. I would like for you, and again, I'm not here to recruit you, but how do we change the culture? You get in and you change the culture. This is why I love being an instructor, man. I love being an instructor. I love pumping out. When you talk about Air Force PJs, you're talking about maybe 200 to 300 on the active duty side. You're talking about like way more on the Guard and Reserve side, right? So, but I mean, you're always hovering around 500 total people, right? So let's say that, you just use 500 as your standard there. If I graduated 100 pararescuemen in 1 year out of the schoolhouse, I just influenced 20% of the career field. 20% of the career field, multiple different squadrons went out and they were like, this is what they're teaching us at the schoolhouse. This is the culture that we experienced at the schoolhouse. We got together every month and we did a workout for one of our friends that died. And really what that was, is it was the instructors telling me about their friends. Because they were their friend. They were here in this schoolhouse. They sweat and bled together in training. And now those guys aren't here. And we got to tell their stories. Because that's part of our culture. Because we're warriors that walk this path. For as cringy as that is, you walk this path that you have these friends, you make these connections that can't be explained to anybody else. That's what our culture is. I think you can extrapolate that out to how it is that I feel about being an American citizen or where I think culture needs to go. But I think that we all need a shift back to that. We all need to take this 250th birthday and this crazy time that we're in right now, because it's absolutely insane. It's the most insane time. And I always laugh about this thought experiment, but I think about my dad when he was 45 years old. I wonder if he looked around at the world and was like, what the hell is going on? What is happening? You know? Because that's how I feel every day. It's crazy to kind of put yourself, or, you know, my grandfather was 45. You know, he's out of World War II, he's in the Navy, he's living in Northeast Ohio, he's got a huge family. Did he ever just look around and just be like, what is happening? What is going on? Right? Because that's definitely what it feels like now. But how do we lead through that? Because that's what we're talking, when we talk about changing a culture, we do it from the bare bones. We do it from having GWOT veterans teaching at those schoolhouses and going, no, man, here's how it is on the ground. Here's the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent, the mundane, the terrifying, the traumatic. Here's what you're going to see. I can't tell you how you're going to respond, but I can tell you that I need you to be ready to respond. And I can help you be ready to respond. I can't tell you how you're going to respond. That's on you. But I can prepare you for that so that when you're ready to answer the call, you can. And if we apply that to culture, that's what we need to do now. I think that we do need a culture shift inside of the Air Force. I think that we do need a culture shift inside of the DoD. But it's to look internally and say, what's really important? What are our values? What do we, no kidding, what do we value? What are we trying to do? What is the culture that we want, because we make the culture? So what are we willing to live with? If we want a warrior culture, you got to live like a warrior. You got to be okay doing the hard things then. Like, if that's what you want to be and that's who you are, and that's who I like to think I am, both as a special operator in another lifetime, as an American citizen, just as a dad, as a human. If you want to live that warrior culture, if you want to live that ethos, that's cool, but you got to do hard stuff. And we just need a rebaselining to that. And we need to be answering all those questions. So yeah, I think a culture shift is needed. I think there's the pendulum swings every way. And again, 2015 to 2025 was a wild time. The pendulum swung a lot of different directions. And now we see a lot of it coming back, and in some cases swinging in the opposite direction again. We just need to calm that noise down, and we need to really get back to who we are. And we are freaking Americans from the best country on the history of the planet, the history of the universe. And the culture is ours to change it. That's a great thing about culture, and to a greater extent, legacy. You can start your own legacy right now. You want to change the culture? You want to be the person to change it? Change it. Be brave. Be bold. Stand up. Speak truth. Go change it. Get other people. If your ideas are good and it's a culture that other people want to adhere to, great. Now you got a team. And now we're talking. If you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go farther, you go with the team. So now you got a whole team of like-minded individuals, and now we're talking. Now we're talking about a whole bunch of people that set their own inside of a warrior culture. We say, no, these are our standards. We don't set the standard lower for anything. We understand we're going to have to do hard stuff, and there are going to be some good dudes that aren't going to meet the standard, and we're going to have to be like, hey, see ya, for whatever reason. But that's the standard, because what we're doing, never lose sight of what we're doing. We have a no-fail mission. Somebody is going to call a pararescue team. They're going to call an Air Force Special Operations team, and they're going to say, help, I can't, I'm going to die. Help. You going to go? Are you ready? Did you train enough? How many miles a week did you run? Did you care to wake up an hour earlier? All of those questions, they don't matter in the end. They don't matter when that flag goes up. Are you ready to go? It's a yes or a no. It's a pass-fail event. Like, there's no grade. It's you pass or you fail. You did or you didn't. And we need to get people that are ready to make that. And I think that's the part of the culture I want to change. Because I want these GWOT vets. It's easy to be, and now as we all get some space from it, right? Like, we have some time away from Afghanistan, away from GWOT, away from these things. We have some time to go, okay, well, what does this young generation need? What war stories do they really, what do they need? Like, if I don't tell you what it sounds like, you know, and I'm not saying me specifically, I'm saying if the GWOT veterans don't tell you what incoming sounds like versus outcoming, how are these young folks going to know? How are they going to be prepared? I can't sit here and be like, oh, this culture is going down in flames, and then all I do is post about it on the internet. That doesn't seem like I'm doing anything that's helpful, right? We need to engage, and we need to get you ready to go. And a lot of that is our culture. But I would make my point on this before we hit this last question here. Yes, I think we need a culture change, but I think that culture change lies in us and in me personally. I can affect this. You can affect this. We can affect this together. We can just decide from today on that this is our legacy. If we wanted today to be day one in the new legacy of whatever Air Force Special Warfare evolves into, we can do so today. We have the requisite brain power betwixt us. We can do it. Question is, do you have the potential? Do you have the minerals to see that one through? Right? The question isn't, do we think that this is it's the quote from Boondock Saints is running around in my head. The question isn't, are we going to be able to do this thing? The question is, do you possess the Constitution to do everything it's going to take for us to be successful? The question isn't, is the mission righteous? We all know it is. Being a combat controller, TAC PSR, just being in the military, serving, all that is valid. All of that is a noble pursuit. Never take anything away from that. Good, bad, ugly, indifferent. You've done something that nobody else will, right? But if we want to live to a higher standard, if we want to accept that we have high immutable standards because we have a no-fail mission, and even inside of that service, we have something that is righteous. Being an Air Force Special Operator is righteous. Then we just have to decide that this is what we accept in our culture, and then we live it, and we make it so.